Well, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the 26th of April, 2011, and I'm about to show you the progress that I've made with the mother of the kittens that we took in. This is Silver. There's one of the kittens right there. There's Tabs. Tabs, you want in? There you go. Okay. So, after a year and a half of me trying to get this little kitty so that I can socialize her, she has finally gotten to the point to where she'll let me pet her. Hey, Silver. Well, come here, little girl. Come here. She's very affectionate, but very timid. It's okay. There we go. There we go. This was a real breakthrough about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, while I was feeding her, because she's always let us get a little close to her. And I decided to just reach out and stroke her back while she was eating, and she arched her back and she liked it very much, and she has been getting progressively warmer and more socialized, and it turns out that she is a very affectionate little cat and is starved for affection, but is always spring-loaded to the runaway position. And she loves affection. She sits out here on our stone wall. That's a gal. Sits out here on our stone wall for almost all day. We don't know where her new kittens are, but we think they're across the street over at Paul and Peg Roberts' house somewhere. We've looked for them, but didn't find them. But this is where she usually sits, somewhere here on this stone wall. There's the back of our house. There's the screen porch, and there's one of her little kitties. This one we call Velvet. She's very neutral towards the kittens. She doesn't recognize them as being having anything to do with her. They're just other cats, and they're very neutral towards each other. If one of them charges right up to her, she'll kind of hiss. But if they're very gentle about it, they'll sniff noses and kind of go on their separate ways. And here she is. And the way to tame a wild cat is to feed them and get slowly closer to them as you talk. Understand that before, when this kitty was somewhere out here in the yard and she even saw us in the house, that she would panic and run away. So to finally be able to pet her has been quite a little step forward here, because she was essentially a wild cat. And she eats like a pig, and I suspect it's because she has worms, and since one of her kittens has feline leukemia, she obviously does too. And she's feeding a litter of who knows how many kittens, so she needs lots of food, and she eats lots of food, and I several times a day, probably half a dozen times a day or so, I'll come out here, throw a little more food in the bowl if there's none in there, and reinforce our little bond by petting her, talking the whole time so that she's relaxed. And she's just turned out to be a real sweetie, and she really looks forward to these as far as I can tell, and that she purrs and starts meowing as soon as I walk out the door and talk to her. She's very alert to any sounds that are not normal in her environment. And I never pass up an opportunity to, there we go, pet her. And you can see how she's Just loving this attention. Sheila, of course, like all cats do, at the base of the spine. Loves her head scratched. Right on top. Just loves that right there. And a little combination. Rub the top and get right underneath her chin. That's extra goody. Well, I can see I'm very quickly running out of battery power, so I'm going to have to stop this for right now. And we'll continue this at some point in the future.